Okay, so
that host synergy right there, baby.
That's just to line up the tings.
The tings.
Alrighty.
Welcome back to the Zeke and Dak Random Chat Podcast. I'm Zeke, that's Dak, and we got a random topic generated from our random topic generator to chat with all y'all.
Today's topic is radios.
Radio.
So, what do you know about radios?
What do I know about radios? Those radio stations, they come equipped in vehicles. In some vehicles back in the day, it was like the only piece of tech to like listen to stuff. You can share like news, weather, sports, music. And I would say it's a dying breed in mainstream where they're not really being used as much as they used to be.
Yeah, now I got Bluetooth radio transmitters that can play our phone music.
Well, man, well, also the best. Some cars actually just have Bluetooth enabled.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that's fair. That's all good. Went to 13, it does. And then I mean, like, yeah, like streaming like music and other stuff, podcasts and whatever on your phone. You can just hook up to Bluetooth. You don't even need to use radio anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, like on my lunch break, I listened to a podcast, but I Bluetoothed my phone to my radio transmitter and listened to it in my car while I was just chilling.
Fair enough.
Well, yeah, no. What kind of radio stations do you listen to, like, when you do have to listen?
When I did have to listen to? Okay, let's see. It's been a while since I've listened to a radio. Let's see. Back when I had a car that didn't have like any ability, like you could either, it was an older car, you could either do CDs or radio. And then of course with CDs you only have like a few CDs here and there, so you can't really listen to a whole lot of variety.
So like one of those massive CD books.
Yeah, like those massive books from back in the day, which I did not. Radio stations that I listened to when that was the case would have been like Rock 106.
106.7?
I think it was 106.7. Yeah. B93, so 93.3.
Yeah.
What's the other one called? 107.7. The River. That's what it used to be called. Yeah. So when I had that car, that's what it was. I think the new station's like Today FM or something.
Yeah. There used to be I think it was 89.9 or 89.8. It was like Shine FM, but then they changed it, and now it's like something different, some kind of pop station.
Oh dang!
And there's 83.3, I think, as well. Which that one's like the university one.
83.3.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, nice.
I like that one.
I think the college has one too. I just can't remember what it was called. Mm-hmm. It was called the Bear or something, but I can't remember what the actual like frequency or whatever the heck it was.
97.3, I think, as well.
97.3.
I don't know what that one is.
97.3. That used to be the Bridge.
Yeah.
97.3 used to be the Bridge. Yeah, I remember that one vividly.
They're all just like some random.
Yeah, it was called the Bridge, and then I don't know what it is now. I haven't listened to it, but I remember before it used to be 97.3 CKVN.
Oh yeah.
Which was like a Christian radio station.
Yeah.
And then before that name change, it was 97.3 Spirit FM. When I first moved here, that's what it used to be called. So I went from Spirit FM to CKVN. And I vividly remember when it became the Bridge, because I used to have it set as my radio, because I had like one of those radio alarm clocks, right?
Yeah.
So like the alarm was just a radio turning on, and I had that like throughout elementary, middle school, and a little bit of high school. And I had set to that, and I remember it was the day after, I believe it was Father's Day. No, it was Father's Day. I remember I woke up to the alarm, but nothing played. It was just static.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, is something broken with like my clock or whatever? And so I just didn't pay no mind to it or whatever. And then the next day was school, right? And when I woke up, it like turned on and it played Billy Talent's Red Flag. That was the first song that played on it. And I was like, what the heck? I thought I had it set to the Christian radio station, right? And then like after that played, like it literally would like play like 3 songs in a row.
And then have ads for...
And had no ads at the time. There's no ads, but it had ads that it was now called, like, The Bridge. It was like 97.3 The Bridge. And then I was like, this station's weird. Like, why is it... So I guess they, like, it changed or whatever, but then, like, it just didn't have ads. And it didn't have ads for probably, like, almost a month. So I stayed on that radio station because it had no ads. And then all of a sudden, of course, the ads started showing up. But, like, that's what I vividly remember about that one. Like, when it was The Bridge. I don't know what it is now, but when it was, like, when it would change from CKVN to The Bridge.
I like it.
This is my one vivid memory about that.
Huh. I used to listen to B94, which is the Rocky Mountain
version of B93.
And I listened to B93, and I really liked it. Yeah, that was like my go-to.
That's fair.
Now I have 106.7 and 107.7 on my speed things, but then I also have I think mine's like 81.2 or something like that.
That's fair.
My frequency for my Bluetooth speaker.
That's fair. I know on my car, I don't think I've even listened to the radio on that one. Maybe once or twice, but like, well, because I got it from Ford, right? From Dunlop Ford. And then I remember when I was a mechanic or a salesman, what we used to do before we'd sell a vehicle would be we'd preset the stations that Lethbridge had. So we'd preset them all on there. So like this one has them all preset on there. And I know when the radio's on. And the only time it really ever turns on is when my phone's either dead.
Or you walk away and I'm in the car.
And you walk away, and then the Bluetooth disconnects, and then like what it does, it searches for a little bit, and then it gives up and goes immediately to radio.
Yeah.
And then what I've noticed is with Bluetooth, it's a lot quieter, so you turn it up more. But with radio, it's just like full blast.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, no, I definitely had a lot of time listening to radio in my car driving back and forth because it doesn't have Bluetooth. So if I didn't have a Bluetooth transmitter at the time, or I didn't have data at the time,
It's radio.
just radio, right? Or
Yeah.
a CD.
Fair enough.
But-
Yeah, I don't really remember listening to the radio a whole lot.
A lot as a kid. We listened to CDs, and then if we like ran out of CDs or we got tired of them,
No.
radio.
Yeah, so it was CDs because like the big book that you said, my dad had one of those big books back when we had CD players, and he had cars that had like the 6 CD changer on them, so we always had a lot of CDs. But yeah, and then my other vivid memory about radio was when I worked as a mechanic, like right out of high school. My one buddy that I shared a bay with, he found like this old like radio player, yeah, like,
Okay.
and they found it in like the back of the shop, and like everyone thought it was broken or whatever, and he like plugs it in and it works perfectly. And the man, he played drums for like a country band, like as like after work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that thing was like glued onto like Country 95.5. Like I think it was like built on there. So
Is that where you're like a little bit of disdain for that?
surprising not, no. That's kind of where I kind of got like when I developed the tolerance to listen to it, and I guess kind of enjoy some of the songs on it.
Nice.
But I do remember, like I used to remember every morning because he'd leave it like he'd come in before me. He was always a half hour before me, and then he'd just like have it on. So I'd walk into like it'd be quiet, and everyone's like waking up, and you just hear country music blasting in from our little bay. But yeah, for like the whole year, because I worked a whole year there as a mechanic. Country 95 was just on there the whole time. Yeah. And yeah, so I guess that's where I do it, because I remember as a kid growing up I wasn't the biggest country fan.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of where I slowly developed like a tolerance for it, and then would like listen, like some of the songs would be okay, and that was the one thing I remember was like there wasn't a whole lot of country songs that'd play on the radio, because I remember I'd hear like the same song at least like 2 or 3 times a day.
Yikes.
Especially when it was like hot.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of variance. My uncle had 2 radios in our shop at Canadian Tire, and both of them were synced up to the same station, and it was like, okay, yeah. And then I was like, I'm sorry, I'm putting mine on to 98 something.
Whatever, yeah.
And I would listen to, what's that song? Cold Snow? No.
Cold Snow?
Cold Calma?
I don't know.
It was like a Daddy Yankee song. It just like was like going on to it was 4 years ago. It was hot.
It was in Despacito?
No. Despacito was being played, but it was...
There's another one by Daddy Yankee.
Yeah, I'm gonna quickly look it up.
Yeah, that's what I was doing right now. I was looking up like, so there was one country song that was like popping off when I was like in like my last couple, okay. I was in like my last few years of like, or few months of working there, and it was, I think it was a
This one.
Luke Bryan song. Oh, okay. I don't think I've ever heard that one before. Luke Bryan song. Let's see. So it would have been
Like Katy Perry and
came out 2015, I believe. No, it wasn't 15. Was it 14?
Huh.
Roller Coaster. That's the one. That one would constantly play on the radio. Roller Coaster by Luke Bryan. Played like 3 or 4 times, like daily, and it was my buddy's favorite song. So every time it would pop on, he'd be like, "Yes!" and like he'd turn off the radio. Somebody working on a car and had to listen to this song.
Did that one grow on you ever?
It's very
bittersweet.
It's very pop country.
Okay.
So like, no, not really.
Not really.
But that's one thing I remember. He was a big Luke Bryan fan, so almost any time Luke Bryan songs would come on there, he'd be cranking it up. But of course, the big Luke Bryan song at the time was that one, so it's getting a lot of action on our radio.
That's fair. That's funny.
Yeah.
A little fun fact: the first voice and music signals ever heard over radio waves were transmitted in December 1906. So it's been over 100 years that radio players have been a thing, basically. Well, not actually players themselves.
But like radio and
voice and music transmission. It was from someone named Brant Rock.
Brant Rock, eh?
Yeah. And then there was a Canadian experimenter, Reginald Fessenden, produced about an hour of a talk and music for technical observers, for any radio amateurs that might be listening. So like they're like testing it out and stuff. So
interesting.
There was Massachusetts, and Canada were like the first like biggest stuff that happened, which is kind of cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. One fun fact I found out was the word broadcasting comes from farming.
Yes.
So the word broadcasting is actually a mid-18th century agricultural term that means wide scattering of seeds. The word didn't become a term related to radio until the 20th century, when the first radio broadcasts were created. And it's like with broadcasting sowing, radio broadcasting also involves large scattering of stuff, radio waves, songs, and entertainment.
Huh, that's pretty cool. So we're broadcasting about a broadcasting
We're
network.
broadcasting about a broadcasting network, reaching all of our, 10 homies that listen in, if we get lucky.
The name of this episode is going to be Broadcasting, ? Alright, so the Radio Act of 1912 was when the Titanic crashed.
Hit the iceberg.
Pretty rough. What were you saying about the movies that you watched?
I was talking about the Titanic.
Yeah.
So anyways, because you said you've never seen it, right? So I've seen it, I think, 3 times. I think I saw it once when I was being babysat by my cousin, and I was, really young. And then one time, maybe when I was, 6 or 5 or whatever.
Okay.
And then another time, I think I was, 10. And every single time, because it's a long movie, right? And, you don't actually get to, the crash until, probably halfway through the movie or something. Mm-hmm. So so we'd watch it, we'd start it, I'd fall asleep. But every time I woke up, it was always right as, this thing is getting destroyed by the iceberg. So I fast travel and, go right to, the intense action of this thing going down.
They go on the boat and they immediately die.
Yeah. So, I remember when, the memes were coming out. When they, fame me, one of your French girls or whatever, or draw me, whatever. I never knew that. I didn't get that reference because, I don't remember seeing this in the movie, and then I realized it wasn't because I skipped through the whole weird love story aspect. And I'm just here for the carnage and the death of a bunch of British people.
Yeah, pretty rough for them.
Anyways, continue about your act.
So when the Titanic crashed, they actually had radios on board.
Okay.
And they used that to radio for help, and then it was actually because of that they were able to save more lives than they would have without. So initially, there wasn't really any regulation on that, and then they put that in because the Titanic ended up getting lives saved. So it was called the Radio Act of 1912. It was formerly known as an act to regulate radio communication. and it was a United States federal law which required licenses for radio stations, and it was enacted even before the introduction of broadcasting for the general public. So these radio stations had to have certain licenses, and they were also supposed to be on certain vessels. That they didn't have the act written well enough for it to have the authority for people to actually have followed the rules. So they actually had to enact another radio act called the Radio Act of 1927. That
took them a wee bit to get it finally right, eh?
Yeah, and so that tightened the grip, and then there's probably another one more recent because
like more modern technology and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and times are getting more modern, and we're probably having some more limits on what we post or what we broadcast. So that's kind of cool.
Got ya.
But that's kind of cool because of the boats and stuff. Like when I was with my dad and stuff, we would put together his boats that he bought, and we had to make sure that the front and back had certain lights, and there was a working radio, and there was a transponder. Right. So if we ever get in trouble, we can mayday it out, kind of thing.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's kind of neat. Kind of cool that like I didn't know about these acts, and then I looked it up just now. But I knew that there was regulation because of what I did with my dad 10 years ago.
10 years ago, right? Got ya. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this was like a global act, right? It's like a world act, or
it's just a federal law in the U.S., but
like it takes
like a lot of the other things are being mirrored because of
how, like what it did, right? Like it was so like I guess important, and like they can like save lives. So I guess other countries also have like their own versions of it, right? Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I remember reading about it. I think it was in Social or something. Because like Canada has like some sort of like radio act or media act where like a percentage of what like artists played on the radio have to be Canadian. So, for instance, like rock stations, you'll hear a lot of like the Tragically Hip, right? Or like Nickelback. There's just a lot of like Canadian artists that are like sandwiched in between bigger artists, right? Yeah. And you'll notice that like sometimes like since like artists only release songs every so often, you'll hear like a lot of new songs from like American or like European or whatever artist, right? And then like the Canadian artist is like the same song from like 2-3 years ago, right? Yeah. So that's why. It's because like each radio station had to have a percentage of artists like played that are Canadian artists.
So you're saying that Canadian artists right now are kind of crap, and that's why we're listening to the same crap that we heard 4 years ago because it's actually good crap.
I guess. Sure. I mean, that's probably what sparks a lot of hatred with certain bands.
I mean, Tragically Hip's pretty good.
That's true.
But the guy's dead.
Yeah. But I mean, his music lives on, right?
Exactly.
So, like, he keeps, like, that's cool. It keeps him relevant, right? For, like, let's say, like, later down the line with people who never knew the Tragically Hip or whatever, right? They kind of have a way to see it. But, yeah, I think it's more for just, like, keeping Canadian culture, like, so they don't get drowned out by, like, the bigger, like, American or, like, other artists, right? Because I think TV has the same kind of broadcasting rule where, like, the CBC, for instance, has, like, most of it all of it's Canadian produced stuff, right? Yeah. So I think that's a lot, just like to preserve Canadian heritage and culture and stuff like that. But yeah.
I like that because, like, looking at the history of the Tragically Hip, and I don't remember his name. I think his name was Gordon.
I can't remember.
But when he was dying, he wanted everyone to be able to experience the kind of life that he experienced.
Yeah, because didn't he go on a tour before?
He toured until he died. Like he was touring pretty much until the day he died. And I watched a documentary about that, and he said that he wanted to live the life that he wanted to live. Right. He knew that he was gonna die, but he still didn't want.
Like he didn't believe in like staying like sit put and like wait to death, right?
Yeah, he wasn't gonna sit there and wait for death to come to him. He was gonna go chase death down with open arms, basically.
That's pretty sweet.
And yeah, that was a really good documentary.
That's sick. But yeah. So that's cool. That's one thing I knew. Like that's one act I know about radio or broadcasting, whatever. All right. Enough of the morbid sadness. Yeah. Dakota, what are some jingles that you remember from radio stations?
Oh, frick, I don't know, dude.
Does anyone like stick?
B93, 107.7 The River.
No, I mean like like ad jingles.
Oh,
no. Have you never any sick? No. So one for me, the big one was probably like Sleep Country.
Sleep Country, Canada, Bois by Matt.
Yeah, see, so Yeah, whatever. That one sounds a good jingle. That's one I remember from radio. Another one is, I think Dunlop Ford had one.
That's the one that just came into my head.
Yeah, because they just. I remember I was working as a salesman at the time when they came out with their jingle. I remember hearing it for the first time. It was like, how's it go? You're gonna drive away smiling at Dunlop Ford, and then
like, Dunlop Ford.
yeah, drive away. Yeah. But yeah, like most jingles, like most like ads or like certain stuff had jingles to make them catchy, right? So they were like they stick in your ear because even if you forgot them, you kind of remember them when you bring them up, right? So the first like company to create the radio jingle was Wheaties. So the first radio jingle in history was made for the Wheaties commercial. According to General Mills, the world's first singing commercial was performed on Christmas Eve in 1926 over the radio. 4 male barbershop quartet-esque singers beautifully sang, "Have you tried Wheaties? They're whole with a lot of brand." Bran.
Okay.
Bran.
That's
And then
sweet.
you can listen to it below.
Huh.
Yeah, so they were the ones that developed that, and I guess like since it made earworms that stuck in people's heads, other people have followed suit where it's like locally or like corporately or whatever, right? They all got their weird little jingles.
Yeah, I like the one that, like the Sleep Country one. Somebody sang it to me when I just heard it like once. Like, why buy a mattress anywhere else? And then they said, why buy a mattress, sleep on the couch? And now I can't say it
Normally.
the original way.
Yeah.
Like when I just had to say it in here, I said sleep on the couch.
Yeah, so like that. So like a lot of little that's where the jingles came from. So Wheaties is the ones to thank for that. They're the ones that started the jingle vibes on radio.
Huh. That's crazy. Yeah, jingles are something that are kind of evil in nature because this is like
They're meant to get stuck in your head, right?
because now I want to buy a mattress, but I don't actually because
So you sleep on the couch.
I sleep on the couch.
But yeah, so like that's the thing, right, with the jingles, right? So like make the because I mean you like with radio you don't have visuals, right? Like you don't not like a commercial you can have like random visuals of certain things. You actually have to like focus on either like the voice, so it has to be a good radio voice, or like something intriguing, or the jingle, which like sticks in the back of your head
Yeah.
for a while, right?
Huh. I like it. Speaking of things that people listen to and like get stuck in their head or whatever, they actually banned 164 songs after the national tragedy of 9/11.
I heard about this.
Yeah.
I did hear about. I kind of read on it. I didn't add it onto my, but I did. Like it was like they shortened the list, and then it was. Okay, continue on. I think I don't know if I have something extra to add to that.
So, after the tragedy, media companies sent memos to like thousands of radio stations across the country, and they said, "This is a list of songs that they viewed to be lyrically questionable at the time because of there's so many like thousands and thousands and thousands of Americans were grieving at the time, and then you get some suggestive song like Highway to Hell and stuff like that.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
And so yeah, like some of the songs was like Highway to Hell, Walk Like an Egyptian, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, In the Air Tonight, Free
Dang,
Fallin'.
they even canceled Phil Collins out here.
Right? they did Jump by Van Halen. They canceled that one, and every Rage Against the Machine.
That's the one. That's the thing. It was the final sentence on the whole list. It was all the Raging Against the Machine songs.
Obviously, they haven't been banned forever. It was just
during that time period. Yeah, that makes sense.
But like, that's like some kind of censorship that radio is so prevalent that like you don't want to like trigger people, so they banned 164 songs for a certain time.
Right.
That is crazy.
How insane is that?
Because not only like media companies censored themselves, which is
It's like,
all right.
It's like, hey, yo, don't play these songs, bro.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But it's all, yeah.
But then you kind of can delve into the potential subliminal messaging that was in a lot of those songs, because if you played some of them backwards, there's some like weird stuff going on. I know that if you played Hotel California backwards, there's some demon rituals, worship.
Yeah, they got the. Yeah, that's funny.
They summon some demons or something. I don't know,
I mean that makes sense. So when a tragedy like that happens, you know, like saying things like jump, like
yeah,
that makes sense. Now maybe not play it for a few months or whatever, right?
Free Fallen.
Also, that's a rough one. Even though it's like the most chill song ever.
Yeah, so chill.
That's funny, but yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I got you.
So that I could never imagine like having some of those songs. Like I've heard some of those songs on the radio at Saturday night while I'm just vibing, driving, and to think that they were censored and banned back
for
then,
a time period.
That's just crazy.
Right. And I mean, of course, there's songs nowadays that are still banned, right? Because of like their
Suggestive.
lyrical content, suggestive themes, or whatever, right? So,
that's pretty cool.
It's a wild thing, right?
Yeah.
I got a really cool one right here, dude. Since our last episode was on video games, listeners could download video games from radio in the 1980s.
No way.
All right, let me explain it.
Yeah.
So as the 1980s rolled around and computers were becoming the rage, engineers at the NOS and Dutch Broadcasting Organization made a cool discovery. Since both computer programs and video games were stored on audio cassettes, it was possible to transmit data across the radio, record it onto a cassette, and then later play it on the computer. This led to radio broadcasts specifically designed to allow people to download free video games for their computers. Although the layperson probably thought the transmission was just random screeching and beeping. So just random sounds and stuff going through that. You put your cassette in, record it, and then you can put it into your computer, and you had a video game.
That's so sick.
How sick is that?
Got Tetris 89 that way.
That's how they released Mario Bros, bro. The quick demo of World 1-1.
Oh, that's so cool. Do you know who invented the radio?
It was one of those facts that flew over. I saw it, but I didn't actually pay too much attention to it.
So, the idea of wireless communication predates the discovery of radio, and it had experience of wireless telegraphy. Wow.
Telegraph. The struggle is real, man.
So that was because of someone who was doing research on like just frequencies of like transition through ground and water.
Yeah.
It's like you hit the ground and
ripples.
You can hear it 5 miles away or something, right?
Yeah.
And even from like train tracks in the 1830s, there was you can feel the rumble from a train coming
before you see it.
There.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they were trying to figure out a way to transmit it via a signal by means of electromagnetic waves performed by David Edward Hughes. So David Edward Hughes got the idea from James Clerk Maxwell, it seems like.
Yeah.
And then in 1888, Heinrich Rudolf Hertz was able to conclusively prove a transmitted airborne electromagnetic wave, confirming Maxwell's theory. And then after that was when someone else figured it out.
Put it all together.
I couldn't find who actually put it all together into that. Seems like it was who did the light bulb?
Edison?
I think it was Edison that did some kind of work on that. He might not have actually done the
Just took credit for it.
Yeah, because he's got the credit for the light bulb and something else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's not necessarily the
inventor, but
he definitely did some work on it. I remember.
Or like spent money on it or whatever.
Yeah.
Got ya.
So yeah, that's kind of neat.
Yeah, I got actually a fact on Mr. Hertz over here. So Heinrich Hertz demonstrated radio waves in his lab in 1887. The unit of frequency of a radio wave, 1 cycle per second, is named the Hertz in honor of him.
Huh. Yeah, that makes sense because, we listen to things on hertz and gigahertz and all that stuff. So that's really cool. Yeah, learning about how certain decibels could hurt your ears because of the waves, sound frequencies and stuff hurting your ears. I'm not supposed to listen to X amount of decibels. I'm over 200% into the depth on that. That's kind of neat.
Yes. So any fun facts to close off our little radio chat?
NASA has its own radio station.
That's pretty sick.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. It's called Third Rock Radio, and it only plays alternative rock music.
That's pretty sick.
If I had my own radio station, I'd only play songs that I wrote.
That you wrote.
I've only written one, so
just be one on repeat. It's like those YouTube videos that last hours, but just the same song over and over.
It's just the same song playing on repeat for hours and hours.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, How about you?
I guess it's not really a fun fact. It's kind of a morbid fact, but I got a fact.
Okay.
So the first time that the Japanese people heard the voice of the emperor on the radio was when he announced that Japan had surrendered in World War II.
Oof. That's a big yikes.
It's your first big broadcast. It's like, yeah, we give up, bros. We just got bombed. We're not ready to fight anymore.
Yikes. That's a big yikes.
How scary is that? But yeah, that's crazy, eh? Like, first time the nation hears the emperor on radio, it's because he's giving up.
Yikes. That's not a good look for him.
Well, I mean, they eventually got rid of him too, or like he lost his power, kind of like the English monarchy or whatever, right? So, yeah. Radio, dying breed, but a lot of memories in childhood, I guess.
Yeah.
Sneak them on time. Get down on time.
Anyways, we'll wrap that up.
Wrap it up. That was our conversation, our random topic for the day.
Yeah.
We will see you next week with another episode.
Sounds good.
Boy.
Alrighty. Oh.